Welcome, everyone, to the wedding of Ashley and Chavin. I think we've got some people from a lot of different places, from some far distances: San Francisco, California, Arizona, Missouri, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, Georgia. I think some people from Canada. Anybody else we missed? Well, welcome. Ashley's grandfather, Dennis, and other family members have already passed on from this life, but we know they are with us in spirit. Chavin's grandma Joyce is not able to be with us physically, but she sends her love, and a video is being taken for her. So we ask that everybody put on your best smiley faces and behavior for Grandma. So it's such a gorgeous day. The weather is perfect. How lovely that it's cloudy and, instead of being sunny and hot. I see some beautiful outfits out there and maybe some jewelry that hasn't seen the light of day in a while. So you guys all look lovely. And you all have something in common. As you look around, you might see some faces you know, some faces you don't know, maybe some faces you haven't seen in a few years. But you all have this love and support for Ashley and Chavin. So we really are one family here today. So before we go any further, I'd like to just say, let's take a moment and extend a greeting to those around us.
All my boys. Those my boys. My three boys here. Yeah. And his girlfriend. Yeah. So, Chavin's mom and dad.
Tell me. Please be seated.
Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves.
So I'm going to read a passage that's very special to Chavin and Ashley. And it was written by Robert Louis Stevenson. It's called Wedding Prayer. Love is temporary madness. It erupts like volcanoes and then subsides. And when it subsides, you have to make a decision. You have to work out whether your roots have so entwined together that it is inconceivable that you should ever part, because that is what love is. Love is not breathlessness. It is not excitement. It is not the proclamation of eternal passion. That is just being in love, which any fool can do. Love itself is what is left over when being in love has burned away, and this is both an art and a fortunate accident. Those that truly love have roots that grow towards each other underground, and when all the pretty blossoms have fallen from their branches, they find that they are one tree and not two.
A few weeks ago, I was taking a hike in the foothills not far from here. It was in February, which for those of you who don't know, we sometimes get weather in the 70s. It was one of those days. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and it was a gorgeous day. And as I walked, I saw a lot of couples just enjoying the scenery. And some of the couples were holding hands, and some of them weren't. And as I hiked, I saw this one couple come closer to me. They were perhaps in their late 70s, and it was just nice to see that they were one of the couples holding hands. And as they got closer, they stopped about 3 feet in front of me to take a sip of water, and I stopped too. And I said, "What's your secret? After all these years, how do you stay so much in love?" The couple smiled and looked at each other, and the man took a step forward and he said, "Well, whenever we have a discussion, I always get the last 2 words." "Yes, dear." Okay, that's a silly but quaint and real story. And it demonstrates the fact that we all love. All of us humans love. Whether you're married or in a relationship, or you're single and you have parents and children, we all love. Even babies can love. And it's no wonder that the foundation of all of the major religions of the world is founded in love. So around 1500 BCE, the God of Moses said to the Israelites to love your God with all of your mind, soul, heart, and strength. And then around 500 BCE, the Buddha, otherwise known as the Enlightened One, taught us that to love is to be compassionate. And then in the 1st century, Jesus of Nazareth pushed the 10 commandments aside. And he said, you only need these 2 commandments. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And then 30 or 40 years later, the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to the people of Corinth. We heard from that letter earlier when Darlene was reading that first reading. And he said so many things about love. He expounded on the virtues of love. And the context of that passage of chapter 13 is that in chapter 12 and in 14, he talks about spiritual gifts, of speaking in tongues and miracles and healing people. And he's telling them, all of that is wonderful, but if it's not done in love, it means nothing. And then in our next reading that we heard from Lori, from Robert Louis Stevenson's wedding prayer. He says that anyone can be in love. Any fool can do that. But when the blossoms of the trees fall down, the roots underneath are still intertwined. And that's the real lasting love. So getting back to our history lesson, when you get to about the last century, Mahatma Gandhi demonstrated that love can be used in politics through passive resistance. And then in the 1960s, Martin Luther King taught us that to love is to be just. And then there was a group of men in the 60s also who taught us about love in a very different way. They taught us using a venue other than politics, in a completely different media, but it worked really well. So I think on a day like today, we can take our hats off and say thank you to John, Paul, Ringo, and George. All you need is love. So all of you have stories of love here. I can tell as I look at your faces. And I invite you to think about those stories of love. It may be with the person next to you or somebody you left at home. As we now take a look at the love story in front of us. And the one thing that perhaps lasted quite a bit through all of that was the lacrosse. She studied psychology, education, deaf education, and has been teaching preschool for the last few years. And when she was at Regis, that's where she met Lisa. So they've been friends for quite a long time. And it's kind of nice because now, after today's wedding, they have both been in each other's weddings as maids and matrons of honor. Chavin, his story is that he is from San Francisco and made his way to Denver. He's been doing classical piano from age 5. Did it some more as a teenager. He studied science, marine biology, business. He studies Japanese, music, and sound. And he's been pursuing ballet from a very young age, from around 8, which is where and how he met his buddy Griffin. They were in the same school together. So he's a very accomplished ballet dancer. So the story comes together when the two of them met at this place called Bar Car in Denver. And it was one of those nights where Ashley decided to have a ladies' night with her friends at her house. And after some celebration, they went home and she grabbed one of her neighbors and decided to go to the bar across the street. And meanwhile, Chavin had recently moved to Denver. He'd been here about 4 months. And he didn't know too many people, and he'd done some dating, but nothing was taking hold, and he just needed to get out of his apartment. So he went over to Bar Car as well, and he was sitting at the bar. And as he was sitting there, and this was in February, 3 years ago, according to Ashley. And he was sitting there, and then Ashley walked in, and she goes straight up to Chavin and says, I want to go to the jukebox, but I don't have any money. And Chavin says, well, I'll give you some money, but I get to pick the song. Now, when you talk to Chavin, though, the story's a little different. He says it was in March, on the 6th, and that when Ashley walked in, she walked in immediately and talked to the bartender about the jukebox. And it was Chavin who took the initiative and decided, I'm going to offer to pay for the jukebox. And she took him up on it, and either way, it worked out. So it's notable to say that when Ashley saw Chavin, he had his back towards her. And what she was attracted to was his backside. I'm talking about the back of his head. His hair. She thought she's really attracted to cute hair. And that's what got her to walk up to him. So whatever story you go with, in the next hour they were spending between the jukebox and the dance floor, back and forth. And they discovered they had a lot of things in common, including Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson. So then after some time, Chavin, the gentleman, takes Ashley home across the street with her friend. And when they parted, she noticed that he had these really interesting shoes on. They had cats printed on the shoes. So she just noticed that, and they had a quick kiss, and he got her phone number. So after about a week of texting, they had their first official date, and Ashley really liked this guy, and she was really impressed by his dancing. And at that first encounter, and she did not know that he had been to he did an intensive at the American Ballet Theater and the New York City Ballet. So she was totally thrilled by his dancing finesse. And so she decided to buy a brand new outfit for the first date. So she shows up all chipper, and Chavin shows up in his cool green Wrangler Jeep and pulls up to her house, and he had his normal stylish self put together. He was wearing a rust red shirt with cats printed on the shirt, but he did not have the cat shoes on. When he saw Ashley, he thought, I don't think she likes me because her outfit doesn't look that good. Her pants are kind of loose and it looks like a jogging suit. And then it didn't help any that at some point during the date, not too far into the date, Ashley said, okay, I got to go home now because I have plans afterwards to meet with some guy friends of mine. And we're going to go to this comedy stand-up routine in Denver. And Chavin is puzzled that she didn't invite him to go, And so that's puzzling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So at any rate, the date ended, and the second date was at Wash Park. They did some walking around. The first half of the date was so-so because they were doing a lot of talking, or I should say Ashley did a lot of talking. And Chavin didn't. And he was, as you know, Chavin is kind of reserved when he meets somebody. And she did her best to encourage him to talk, but it didn't work. So she was getting a little worried. But then they made their way to the restaurant. It was the Tap and Dough, as in beer tap and pizza dough. And there things smoothened out a bit. And they had some nice conversation. So then the third date, Chavin picks up Ashley in his Jeep to go jeeping in this place called the Gulches at Deckers, Colorado. It was a full day of jeeping, and it was very bumpy. And Ashley was a little concerned because they didn't do much talking. It was reminiscent of that first half of the previous date. So, but Chavin, how did you feel about the fact that there was no conversation happening?
Awesome. Comfortable?
Yes.
Yes. So, in his mind, it was exciting. They crossed rivers with 2 feet deep water. It was just really exciting. And at the end of the day, they went back to Castle Rock, and they went into the Noodles restaurant, and poor Ashley threw up. So, was that your first time ever going jeeping?
Yeah.
And have you gone jeeping since then?
Yeah, we went again.
Okay. All right, nice. So the next notable event was Chavin's birthday, April 2nd. His apartment had a pool, and he decided to throw a pool party with his family and friends. And so it was a pool party, so it was appropriate that Ashley was in her bathing suit. And at that time, she went up to Ashley and said, I want to be your girlfriend. And Chavin said, well, I thought you were. So he thought that, well, previously he had asked her, "Are you dating anyone else?" And she had said no. So, it's basic communication, right? So then came Griffin's birthday at the end of the summer, about 4 months later, and Chavin decides to do a road trip with Ashley, and they drove to the Russian River wine country, and they got to meet his parents, who she thought were very nice, and they thought she was very sweet. Everything was lovely, and she got to meet Griffin and his wife, Lee, and Rowan, who is a lovely girl walking around. So the next event was the engagement, which was about a year ago, June 11th, 2016. Chavin wanted to go and visit his grandma Joyce and spend some time with her. So he went to San Francisco, and Ashley couldn't come immediately, but she followed as soon as she got out of school. And she had this inkling that this weekend might be something to do with an engagement, but she wasn't sure. And she got her nails done just in case. So on that Saturday morning, they went out to eat with Chavin's folks, and she kept looking at them, trying to see if they were excited about an engagement that was about to happen. But she read nothing. So now, a few days before, Chavin had gone out to purchase his ring with his parents, and so the ring was in a box, and at some point during the day, he switched it from the box and he put the ring in his wallet. I've never heard of anybody putting a ring in a wallet. But it was a brilliant idea because Ashley had been checking his pockets. So, again, Ashley didn't get anywhere. And so finally they were eating dinner, just the two of them, south of San Francisco, near the coast, at the Moonraker restaurant. And they were in this lovely booth facing the ocean. And Chavin is reserved, so he didn't want people to be around. So when it was getting close to sundown, he said, "Hey, let's go watch the sunset." And so, but then he said, "Oh, well, wait a minute, I gotta go to the bathroom." So he goes. So when you were checking his pockets, were you like looking at his pockets, or were you looking at his
I could
jackets?
see like a box, to see the box, to see the shape.
Okay, you weren't checking his like jacket pockets or something.
No. I wasn't going in them.
So when he was in the bathroom, you weren't doing anything.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So anyway, he comes back from the bathroom, and they walk out to the ocean, and they were about halfway there, and he was down on one knee, and he was proposing. And I think he said something like, "We've had so many adventures together, and I'd like to do lots more." And Ashley said, of course, yes. And she cried, tears of joy. She was smiling, and she cried some more. And there was a witness who saw the whole thing. She had this townhouse nearby, and she took a picture. So that was kind of quaint. Ashley has that beautiful gift where she can make friends with anyone, anywhere. So I asked Ashley, "What is it you like about Chavin?" And she said she loves that he can dance, he's funny, she feels safe with him, takes care of her. He's the first person who really listens to her, tries to understand her complexity. He makes sure she's okay. He has good hair and beard and eyes. He's got that classic movie star handsome. He supports her in her races. He's sweet. She likes that Chavin gives her gifts and surprises. And he is so caring and treats her very special. I asked Chavin, "What do you like about Ashley?" And he said, "Ashley's a great teacher. She's creative. He can share things with her, his thoughts, his life, his plans for the future. He's shy with so many people, but not with her. She gets him to experience things he wouldn't ordinarily do on his own. Before Ashley, he had one main friend, Griffin, to hang out with. But now he's got Ashley and her entourage of friends. With her, anything can be fun. She trusts him. Bought the home kind of all by himself. She's inspirational to follow. She has a positive glow. And when he saw her teach, he noticed that she's so good with children. She's beyond caring. She's got passion for empowering others. So my friends, we've heard a lot now about Ashley and Chavin, but it's time now that we hear them say what words they have prepared for each other. Before we go into the vows, I invite you all to stand up. Please respond with "we do" if you agree to this next question. Do all of you family and friends pledge your love and support to Chavin and Ashley, and may they turn to you for guidance and strength in the years to come?
We do.
Please be seated. Chavin and Ashley, will you promise to give each other the best of yourselves and to ask of each other no more than you can give?
We will.
Will you take strength from whom you are, forgive who you are not, and remind one another of who you want to be?
We will.
Will you share each other's laughter and comfort one another when there are challenges? Will you play as much as you can, even after you have grown old?
We will.
Will you be loving and patient with each other and cherish each other above all others? Will you stand by each other always?
We will.
Ashley, do you take Chavin to be your partner, husband, and friend?
I do.
Chavin, do you take Ashley to be your partner, wife, and friend?
I do.
Will Griffin come forward with the rings? Chavin and Ashley, as a ring is continuous with no beginning or end, so too is your love for each other.
Chavin, we've already grown so much together, and from the moment we met up to this day, I've continued to see your great kindness and strength. You're the most passionate person I've ever met, and I see your passion for us every day. That's how I know you'll always be there for me, and I love you.
Ashley, over the past couple of years, you've taught me so much. About compassion, understanding, strength, and love. I'm so happy we get to continue this journey together. It's a very couple. I love you so much, and I'm so proud to call you my wife.
May the love which brought you together continue to blossom for years to come. I was going to ask you to take each other's hands, but you've already done that. These are the hands of your partner, young and strong and full of love, holding your hands as you promise to love each other today, tomorrow, and forever. These are the hands that will work alongside yours as together you build your future. These are the hands that will hold you and comfort you in grief and uncertainty. These are the hands that will countless times wipe the tears from your eyes, tears of sorrow and joy. These are the hands that will hold your family as one. These are the hands that will give you strength. And these hands that even when wrinkled and aged will still be reaching for yours, still giving you the same unspoken tenderness with just a touch. May Chavin and Ashley be blessed with prosperity in their endeavors, grace and understanding in their relations with all persons, especially each other, and have the utmost respect for one another. And may they be blessed with children. You may now kiss the bride. So now all of you guests, please remember your wands and ribbons. My dear friends, it is my great privilege to present to you for the very first time as husband and wife and partners in life, Mr. and Mrs. Chavin and Ashley Moniz.
On behalf of Darlene and I, and the Moniz family, we really want to take a few minutes here to thank everyone for coming out this evening to help us celebrate this most special occasion. And also a special thank you to all those that chose to travel to Denver. If you had options this summer and you guys came out, thank you, everyone. We have a long list of visitors from all over the United States and Canada, and we very much appreciate it and are so blessed with kind, generous people in our lives. Okay, before I sit down, I would like just take say a few words about our beautiful bride and our daughter, Ashley. She looks amazing and so elegant tonight in her wedding gown. It's incredible. You're beautiful. Well, I'm here to let you know that Ashley, she's not afraid of getting her hands dirty. She pretty much knows I use all the tools in my garage, knows where to put them back. She has the ability to change oil in her car, so she knows how to do that, change tires. So Chavin, don't let her say she doesn't know how to do that. One thing about Ashley, and we heard it tonight, she loves bargains and loves saving money when she's paying. Well, when Ashley was about 17 and had her first car, we would a lot of times just go down the road here to a salvage yard and go pick used parts and fix her car. And she was no problem. She's searching for cars that look like hers, and she'd pull the parts off and we'd put it on her car together. Yeah. And I'm sure also Uncle Gary has a few stories of his own of Ashley and what she can do on a farm. She's visited there a lot of times. Ashley, we are so proud of you and what you've been able to accomplish with your life. From the first parent-teacher meeting I attended, where the teacher was more excited to meet me because of all the stories you told her, and we're hoping they were good stories, to watching you pick up a new sport in high school, mastering it. It opened up doors. You used it to help build your life and education. It took you to new places, new experiences, and being able to support you through ups, downs, heartaches, celebrations like this wedding means everything to Mom and I. Chavin, how you doing? One short story of Chavin. So on the first Christmas that we had where Chavin came over, he wanted to make the breakfast for us. And we said, okay, no problem. Well, breakfast was amazing. That's not the story. The part that was so impressive was how much care and attention he gave to his cast iron pan. A pan. Amazing. Chavin, today you have married our daughter, and all we ask is that you cherish her, protect her, and promise to give her that same attention that we know exists in you. Thank you for having the courage to ask me for her hand in marriage. That was very special and something Darlene and I appreciate and respect. It was incredible. Okay, now a toast to Ashley and Chavin. Remember, love is only love when it is given away. Love, Mom and Dad.
I asked Chavin and Ashley what they wanted me to talk about during my speech, and they gave me 3 key points. So I'm going to keep referring to them to let them give me some guidance on what I'm supposed to be talking about. So my first is favorite childhood memory or story, I don't have one specific one, but I'll just start from pretty much me and Chavin's life story. We've known each other for 27 years. We met when I was 4.5, maybe 5 years old, and he was 7. We started dancing together, taking ballet classes. Both of us quickly fell in love with ballet. So Chavin, Javier, and I actually grew up all dancing together. It turns out that we also lived over the hill from each other. So I would go over to their house weekly, almost daily. I even had a bed at their house, Laurel and Jose provided. So I would sleep over there all the time because I thought it was better than sleeping at my house in the same room as my sister. So we grew up dancing. We grew up through our teens dancing together, and then he quit dancing and I moved on to another city to dance professionally. But that's how we met, and that's we basically were together all day, every day together. So let's see, Chavin and Ashley. So the first time I met Ashley was, as it was said earlier in the ceremony, was on my 30th birthday at Russian River. And Chavin said he had this new girlfriend and that he was bringing her with him. So we meet Ashley, and it's awesome because she's immediately outgoing, super friendly, had a great time. She was great with Rowan. They brought Rowan a little dinosaur gift that she still plays with every day, actually. It's one of her favorite gifts. And then after the Russian River, we decided to go bar hopping. And that's when I actually fell in love with Ashley. So we were out bar hopping. We'd already had a few drinks, my whole family and I. And we're all sitting around, and we realized Ashley's gone. And we're like, where'd Ashley go? And a few tables over from us, Ashley's sitting there, and she just plopped herself down next to some strangers. And they had some, I think it was French fries, maybe cheesy fries or something. And she just was helping herself to cheese fries. And I was like, I love this girl, because this is something that I would do. And Chavin handled it awesomely too, because he was just like, yep, that's Ashley. She's just gonna go talk to people all night long. Ashley takes care of Chavin. So if you guys don't know, Chavin lived off and on up until he was 30 with his parents. Then he moved out. A couple years later, moved to Colorado. And then within 4 months, met Ashley and moved in with her. So, he likes having someone to tell him what to do. And if you guys all know, that's exactly their personality. She likes to tell people what to do. And he likes to be told what to do. So anyway, to be serious, on a serious note, I'm so happy for you guys. Thank you so much for having us. It was great. You guys letting us stay in your house this week. Damn. I was making fun of Chavin for crying, and now I'm about to cry. But I love you guys, and you guys are perfect together. Congratulations.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. I feel a little bit better now. Even though Paul over here stole a couple of my lines, so that was great. For those who don't know me, my name is Lisa, and I have known Ashley now for going on about 10 years. We went to Regis University together and met my freshman, her sophomore year. While our first encounter with one another was not what you would typically expect from two people who became friends, I'll tell that story later to anybody who's interested. I wouldn't change it for the world. Let me see. Ashley and I have a very unique relationship with each other. We were roommates in college. That only lasted 1 year. We quickly found out that living together was probably not a good idea for our friendship. We stole each other's clothes. We called our mothers whenever the other person was doing something that we didn't like. But above and beyond, I feel like we always had each other's back, and that's kind of been the backbone of our relationship ever since. As some of you might know, Ashley's an only child. She doesn't behave like one at all, but I am the youngest of 3, but I have 2 older brothers who are much older than me. So in many ways, Ashley and I's relationship, I feel like, is more like sisters. And she was my maid of honor in my wedding, and I'm just honored that she chose me to stand up here for her today. Let's see. So my favorite memory of Ashley from when we were in college is a good one. It actually references this wonderful Toyota that Dan apparently helped Ashley piece together. And now it makes so much more sense, some of the issues that this car had, knowing that she picked out parts from a junkyard. But one of the biggest things that you need to know about this Toyota is that it did not have a working stereo. So no radio, no nothing. And Ashley had one of those old school, like the Discman. Before the iPod was popular, it was the Discman, those big, bulky things that you put a CD in. And it had, the headphones, the big black foam ears. So I'm driving to class one day, and I see that Ashley's on Federal right next to me, and I'm like, oh, cool, there's Ashley, and here she is with these headphones on. And she's got all the windows rolled down because it's summertime. And she is singing at the top of her lungs to whatever song was on her Discman at the time. And I'm honking and waving. And I'm like, hey! And for blocks. This continued for blocks down Federal. And she has no idea that I am even in the car next to her. So, Chavin, the lesson of this story is that while your now wife is fun-loving and could clearly care less about making a fool of herself in public, you should probably invest in the best car insurance that you possibly can, because she clearly does not pay attention to her surroundings while she's driving. I remember when Ashley first told me that she was dating this new guy. As you all heard, they met at a respectable establishment late one night and bonded over playing the jukebox and Johnny Cash. I remember that she told me his name was Chavin, and that took at least a month for me to get straight and not to refer to him as some version of a name that began with a CH. There were lots of varieties at first. Let's see here. Let's make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Ashley told me that she was attracted to him right away because he was such a good dancer. This struck me as odd because for those of you who know Ashley, I was a little shocked that this good dancer, who I later found out was in the ballet as a young man, fell in love with my friend here, who her dance style is probably better described as interpretive dance. I remember in college that song, Apple Bottom Jeans, Boots with the Fur. Her dance moves are like, apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. And I was like, you're dating a ballerina. That makes total sense. But I was finally convinced that Chavin was the perfect match for Ashley when she was not only able to hold on to a pet for longer than a year, they even got a second dog together. it was a miracle. And, so I knew that these two dogs had finally found their forever home with Ashley, and Chavin, kind of like Ashley, found her forever home with Chavin. And I couldn't be happier. Love you too. So while I may be younger than Ashley, she loves that. I would like to think that I am a little bit wiser in some ways. And since I've been married now for 4 years, I feel that it's my responsibility to tell you what I've learned so far. Ashley and Chavin, marriage is a completely new chapter in your lives. While a lot of times people say, oh, it's not that different, you've been living together now for a little while, it's not necessarily going to feel different tomorrow when you wake up. But in retrospect, it is. It's really different. You have now chosen the person that you are going to spend the rest of your life with. And while there's a sense of security in that, there's also finality. So, a little bit of advice. Remember to be kind to one another. Things are not always going to be easy. Give space when space is needed. Respect each other's need to be independent. And remember to do small acts of kindness for one another to show that you care. You both will continue to learn new things about one another. Some of them you may not like. So be sure to communicate, be honest, and listen. So if everybody could please raise their glass. Chavin and Ashley, may you always remember this day and how you feel about each other right now, especially when times get tough. I love you both. Cheers.